Okay, let's get started. It's 12 noon here in Saskatchewan. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone.
Hi.
And welcome to today's webinar, and thank you for joining us. We are excited to have you here. My name is Deborah, and I'll be your host and moderator for today. We are joined by Danille and Hackman Ankumah from Floradale Feed Mill Limited in Ontario. They both will be sharing their insights on exploring careers in livestock and feed manufacturing. Danille is the Q&A Supervisor and Monogastric Nutritionist, while Hackman is the Poultry Support Specialist at Floradale Feed Mill. Together, they will share their personal career journeys, industry insights, and practical advice for students and young professionals that are trying to navigate their way into the field of animal science and the field of feed industry in Canada. Today, you can expect a relaxed, conversational style webinar that is filled with relatable stories, lessons learned, and opportunities. And after that, we are going to have a session of Q&A where you'll be able to ask your questions. However, during the webinar, you can also type your questions in the Q&A box, and we make sure that your questions get answered. This webinar will last approximately 1 hour, and the session will also be recorded, and you can access the session on our website, IYCA.ca, and also on our YouTube channel. So without wasting time, I would like to give time to Danille and Hackman to take over now. Danille and Hackman, feel free to share more about yourself, add to the introduction I've already provided, as much information as you are comfortable sharing with our audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're very happy to be here today to share our stories with everyone who's joined. I'll start by introducing myself and tell you a little story of how I got to where I am in my current role at Floradale Feed Mill. I was born in Jamaica, and I graduated high school in Jamaica. And when I moved to Canada, I've always had a passion for agriculture. I studied agriculture in high school in Jamaica. So when I moved to Canada, I wanted to continue with that. When I moved to Canada, I did have to go back to high school to get the credits that I needed to go to the University of Guelph, just because of the difference with the grades of when you graduate in Jamaica versus when you graduate in Canada. After that, I started my university degree. So I did my Bachelor of Science in Agriculture with a major in animal science. I did that at the University of Guelph here in Ontario. And then following that, I did my master's in animal biosciences, which is with a specialty in nutrition. When I was finished with my master's, I wasn't too sure where I wanted to land. And I found myself in research, pet research. So a lot of pet food and pharmaceutical research. And I did that for about 3 or 4 years and really wanted to get back into agriculture. And I found my way back through continuing research at a veterinary clinic here in Ontario called Southwest Veterinary Services, where they specialized in swine services. So did a lot of research in swine health and management. And there was a link at that vet clinic to the feed mill that I'm at right now. So at Floradale Feed Mill, my role is a quality assurance supervisor and a monogastric nutritionist. So I have sort of a 2 different roles, but they work very well together. On the quality side, I'm responsible for not just when we're talking about physical quality of feed products, but dealing with customer issues as they come up, but also the feed safety and regulatory side of things. there's a lot of regulations that come around feeding animals in Canada for food production. So it's a pretty big role. There's a lot of things always changing and a lot of new information coming out. The other part of my role as a monogastric nutritionist, I work with customers and sales support staff like Hackman, and we work together to make sure that our producers are feeding their animals to the highest success. So as a monogastric nutritionist, I work on the poultry and on the swine side. I do tend a little bit towards the swine side, and my colleague tends a little bit towards the poultry side. But we work with both. And, you know, there's a lot of challenges sometimes that comes with feed manufacturing, and having a good team definitely helps us succeed. So I'll let Hackman introduce himself, because he's a part of that really, really good team as well that we work with.
Yes, my name is Hackman Ankumah. I came to Canada about 36 years ago to attend college. Right after college, I was employed by Caddy Farm as a farm manager in charge of a turkey farm. So I worked at Caddy for about 2 years. Then I joined Cargill, one of the biggest agricultural company in North America, as a breeder farm manager. I worked in this position for around 6 years as a farm manager in charge of a large breeder farm. From there, I was moved to the field of field supervisor. There, I had the opportunity of working with farmers, practical, like trying to help them achieve their goals, especially production, and also how to maximize profit. I was in this role for about 6 years, and I was instrumental in designing the McDonald's antibiotic policy. So I think they had wanted to reduce the use of antibiotics. So they needed somebody with a field knowledge who can help. So I was the chosen one. So with a team of 2 veterinarians, we came up with the present McDonald's antibiotic reduction policy. From there, I was moved to the breeder manager position. So I worked at Cargill for 22 years. Then my former boss came looking. So he came in and then moved me to Maple Leaf as a field and service technical supervisor. They were also trying to design their RWA program, that is raised without antibiotics poultry. So they felt that I would be the best person to design their program for them. So I did design a program for them, and I worked there for 12 years until I retired. So shortly after retirement, a colleague of mine who I worked with at Maple Leaf went over to work for Floradale Feed. So I think he introduced me to his boss, and I got a phone call to come and see if I can work for them. So after meeting them, I felt that Floradale was one of the best places to work. And having retired, I didn't want to work 5 days a week. So I compromised and I work 3 days a week as a poultry support specialist. And what I do is help farmers to, if they have issues on the farm, I help them through it. And I try as much as possible also to educate them and make sure that the poultry that they produce, like it's in good order. They don't have to have a lot of diseases. And with RWA, you don't use any antibiotics. So management is very, very, very important. So those are the things that I have been trying to teach the farmers so that we can have a production without using antibiotics. And also at Floradale, I designed and also wrote brochures for the farmers. And also I have updated their manual, especially with RWA. So in nutshell, I work with poultry, all sorts of poultry, but my specialty is with antibiotic programs, so raised without antibiotics. So that is my journey so far.
Yes, and one of my favorite things working with Hackman, just listening to his story here, is when we go to, a big part of working in the feed industry is interacting with customers and suppliers at different trade shows. So we go to the poultry show in London, which brings a lot of people in where you're at a booth. And it was really great to see when Hackman first joined, how many producers he'd worked with in the past. Was so very excited to see him because they know he comes with a lot of knowledge and they put so much trust in him. So, you know, through his career here, he definitely has been able to show his expertise, and they really do trust and believe him. And yeah, he has the proven results to show. It looks like someone has their hand up for a question.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Somewhere you can talk now. You are allowed to talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I think his question is in the chat. You can read it for him as well.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I will do that right now. Yeah, okay. Please, how can I get a job opportunities in Canada for my internship? So
That is, yes,
is-
that's a great question.
Yep.
For internships, we do have internships. Sorry, I don't know how to get Samuel from the let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. So there are a lot of opportunities for internships available, especially around summertime. And that would be a great time to, if you have a program through your university or your college, to approach feed mills or some different, pharmaceutical companies, additive suppliers, to see what they have available. They may not always post the positions that they have available. So just letting them know that you are available will bring you opportunities. I know at our feed mill, we do have an intern for the summertime, and that was through the university, where we contacted the university just to see if there was anybody available. But, you know, having people approach you as well. I don't know if Hackman has any experience in his time, especially in chick sales for interns.
Yeah, and also one of the most important things to do, especially seeking an internship position, is not to wait to the last minute. I will collaborate with industry partners. So immediately, maybe you start schooling, you have to make the connections. Like if the area of your expertise, let's say it's a veterinarian, you have to start to talk to them, get to know them. And if, let's say, you want to work in an industry like a hatchery, know the hatcheries, talk to them, so that before even you put in your application, you already have a rapport with some of the workers there, and then they know you, so that once you put in your application, at least you're already on the radar. So I would say that don't wait till the last minute, start to collaborate, start to network, so that you're already known. So that is one of the ways that you can easily be able to be employed as an intern. Let's say, let me take an example. Let's say a student is interested in poultry and he approaches me. What I will say is that, okay, write to the company and say that I would like to know the company, like to learn something about it. And if they agree, maybe I'll be able to take you to the farm, get to know the farmers. Immediately you have that connection with the farmers. Getting into an internship position is easier because you have already have one leg in.
Yes, and don't feel bad if you don't think you have enough experience on your resume. You know, the point of these internships is to provide you with that experience. So even if you have limited experience, don't feel like that's a barrier to you contacting these different companies, because you will be there to learn.
Yeah, and that's exactly true. And at times when you attend seminars or shows, talk to the people. like the last poultry show that I attended, I was approached by a student who wanted an internship position. So I was able to submit his name and everything to HR. And then from there, it progresses. So don't feel shy approaching people with what you want to do in future.
Okay, thank you very much. May I ask a question as well? Yeah, so Akmal, thank you for sharing your story. It's very interesting and very encouraging to me. It seems you were really highly sought for as a nutritionist in your antibiotic reduction program. So I would like to ask two questions. First of all, what can you elaborate more on this antibiotic reduction program? Why was it necessary and what did you do? If you can share that, if it's
Yes.
not against the rule for those companies that you were working for. And
Yeah.
also, what were the things that you did that made you to be, so efficient in your job that even your previous boss came looking for you? What were the things that you did that you can share with our audience and they
Okay.
can learn from? Yeah.
So antibiotic reduction policy, especially for the McDonald's, came about for the desire to reduce the use of antibiotics because of resistance to antibiotic use. So during my career, because I have been working on the field, I was able to work with a lot of researchers, with the veterinarians, so I get to know what is happening in the industry. But with antibiotic policy, like with raising animals without antibiotics, it involves high level of management. So the most important thing is you have to know how to manage a flock. Let's say you are dealing with poultry. You have to know what management tactics that you can use that will reduce the impact of diseases. So once you are working on the poultry field, it's not just going to the farm and then advising the farmers. You have to research, you have to read, you have to collaborate with industry partners, because that is how you acquire new knowledge. And so that is very, very, very important. Immediately you are with a farmer, you have to try and find out what is happening. And then based on what is happening, you can formulate like solution to the problem they are having. With antibiotic program, most of the poultry have diseases, especially when they are growing very fast. So in order to try to minimize the incidence of diseases, we have to slow them down. And so you have to come up with practical ways of slowing the growth of the chicken so that they don't have disease pressure. So that is the foundation of its management. You have to bring in solutions that will help the animals to thrive without antibiotics. And there are so many various ways that you can do that. And if I want to go through it, it will take me forever. So if any of my audience is interested in knowing the exact ways of doing it, I'll be available. But the most important thing is management. Your management has to be top-notch, because disease pressure most of the time comes with lax management. So that is the essence of it. Good management practices and making sure that you are able to see problems before it comes.
Sounds great. Yeah. Then to the second question, what were the things that you can advise the student about being efficient in their job, and what were the things that you did when you were working with these companies?
Yeah, so one of the major, actually there are 4 major ingredients for a good career program, but the most important is knowledge. Because without the knowledge, you will not be able to do whatever you set out to do. But what we have to realize is that knowledge is not just acquiring the knowledge, it's how you can impact that knowledge to the people you are working with. And also knowledge does not mean that what you have learned. It's a two-way street. The farmers or the clients that you are going to work with, they have a lot of knowledge that you can tap. So normally I tell people I work with is if you are working with a farmer or a client, don't go and then behave as if you know it all, because at times you are going to learn more from them than actually you are able to impact. So the knowledge that you are going to gain from the farmer will help you formulate things that is going to help successful growth of like successful use of without using antibiotics. So the most important thing is that you have to have the knowledge. Second, you have to learn from who you are working with, and then use the combination. Use what we learn on the field and also what you learn in the classroom. So these are very, very important. One idea also is that don't limit yourself to just one area. Be adaptable, because dealing with livestock, you use so many different factors, and you can bring from A to B, C to D. So make sure that you are adaptable. You learn so many different things, and that is going to help you, because with the Raised Without Antibiotic program that I designed, there was no textbook. So it's just working on the field, experience, talking to farmers, and designing a solution to what happens on the field. So that is the most important thing, because you have to adapt, you have to learn, and then you have to innovate, because there is no textbook for it. So what I did was, because I've been on the field, I know what's going on, I talk to farmers, I know what the problem is, and then you piece all that together, you come up with a program which works. So it's ongoing, like it's always we are improving, and you talk with industry partners. I'll give an example. We have with Raised Without Antibiotics, we don't use antibiotics, so we try to use vaccine as much as possible. We have a disease called coccidiosis, and there are various companies producing vaccine for that. Once you work on the field, you will find out which vaccine is efficacious for a certain breed. You wouldn't get it because all the vaccine companies will let you know that their product is good. But you on the field have to test it to see which of them you can use. Maybe for one breed, it works better for a second breed. So it's just trial and also innovation and then learning.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so there are two other questions in the chat, but maybe I will let you continue and then we can come back to the questions, whichever way you prefer.
Okay.
Sure.
So, like I'm going to also talk about, as I said, things that will help young farmers to succeed, right? I said about knowledge. Knowledge is very, very important. Collaboration and networking. That is one area that you don't have to ignore. You have to work with industry partners, because new things are coming in and always they are at the forefront. Make sure that you talk to veterinarians, you talk with feed reps, you talk with nutritionists, you talk with machine sellers, because that is where you are going to gain the knowledge. And also you have to network. Make sure that you attend as many seminars as possible, as many trade shows as possible. And remember that you always have to talk to different people. Don't always try to talk to the people you know before. Always try to talk to new people, establish new relationship. And that is one of the things that you have to do. Make sure that you go in, you seek people you don't know. Talk to them, find out what they are doing. And one major thing is, don't wait till you have issues before you approach somebody. You have to build that rapport, build that relationship, so that when you need them, they'll be there for you. So I don't know whether Danny has anything to add to that.
Sure. I agree. Those things are very important in, getting into whatever career path that you get an experience in those fields. But it's also important to do all the things Hackman was talking about, just in your day-to-day job that you're in right now, or in your school, if that's what you're doing right now. In my job, we do, it's a competitive field working in the feed industry. You're competing against other feed mills, but you do find that you work together with people at other feed mills all the time. Like I said, it's a competitive industry, but we're all working together for the common goal. So, one of the biggest projects that had been on my plate in the last year was getting us up to complying to the new feed regulations. So in Canada, they The CFIA federally regulates feed mills, commercial feed mills, and the regulations that we follow is the Feed Act, which the previous version was from 1983, and they just updated the feed regulations last year, 2024. So we have 1 year to comply. We have to comply by June of this year. And, there's a lot of challenges when you're dealing with regulatory information and complying to different standards, especially when it comes to human health and feed safety. That's very important. So you're finding yourself working with other feed mills just to make sure that we're all, we're all in this together. So figuring out, making sure that we're all maintaining the standard that's been set out in front of us. So, even when you find yourself interacting with people of who are conflicting with you when it comes to the business side of things, you will always need to figure out a way to work together with everybody. So maybe Hackman and I can just talk about a day in our lives, a day in our life at the feed mill. For me, again, it depends on if I have a lot of audits going on or if I don't. So, in the last week, I did have an audit that I was doing. It was a 3-day audit. But even while I'm working on the audit, I still have to do my nutrition side of things. So, I would start my day with checking on production and making sure that there was no feed safety or quality issues from the previous day. And then if there are any, we're dealing with them. We're contacting the customers. We're contacting the sales reps and other nutritionists if we need to have them help us with any solutions. And then, I sort of spent the day with the auditor. When it comes to feed safety, there's a lot of documentation and a lot of paperwork that comes into making the feed safe. Even when we're thinking about things like complying to programs that, Hackman helped develop, the Raised Without Antibiotics program. There are other programs like, the pork-free program, so that would be halal, or we have veggie grain-fed programs. So only no meat byproducts in those feeds. So we also have to ensure that we're compliant to those as well. And, we need to have the documentation to prove that we are, and that we're maintaining our medications in those programs where they are allowed medications. One of the other things that I do when it comes to the nutrition side of things is, once a week, we take a look at all our formulas, and we're making sure that based on the prices of ingredients that week, because in a commercial feed mill, we are using just the ingredient trade-in prices. Everybody closes on a different day. And once we have our ingredient prices for that week, we review our formulas just to make sure that we can't make any slight adjustments to the formulas to capture any savings for our customers. Now, we're not changing those formulas drastically, of course, because we want to keep the feed consistent for those animals. The nutrition of the feed remains the same. The ingredients may vary slightly just to capture some savings for the customers. So if we're able to do that, we'll update the formulas. We're also working very closely with production, the production side of things, where they're actually manufacturing the feed, just to make sure that, the formulas that we're coming up with are okay to be produced. There's a lot of different textures of animal feed. Some of you may have seen different types. We have pellets and, mash feed. Where it sort of looks like it could be powder. We have a texturized feed where it's grains mixed together, sometimes with molasses. So there's a lot of different complexity when it comes to putting together rations for the different animals. So all of us definitely play our part in making sure that it goes out right. And, we rely on the feedback from everybody in the field, like Hackman, to let us know if there's any issues or there anything that we need to adjust when it comes to the quality of the feed, the texture of the feed, if there's any changes that need to be done in how the animals are needing to be fed. Hackman mentioned sometimes, so we have to slow the animals down to maintain their health. How do we do that? But sometimes we need to speed them up. So just working day to day with each other just to figure out how to get to the end goal to make sure that our customers are successful.
Yes, with me, my day starts with consulting all the sales guys because I provide technical service to them. I support them on the field. So I'll find out where I need to be, where there are issues. So if let's say I'm told that there's a flock that high mortality, then I'll have to head to that farm, go in, find out exactly what is happening. Most of the time I'm able to, if I have to do necropsy on the farm, I'm able to do it. If I find out that it's beyond me, then I'll have to make sure that the beds are submitted to the vet. And also, any flock, we have important deadlines on with a flock. Let's say you place a flock of an antibiotic-free. You know that day 7 is very, very important. Day 14, day 21. So I'll have it on my calendar, all the farms that have been placed. So I will know which of the farms that I have to visit to make sure that the targets are met, to make sure that things are done. So in a day, I try to visit not more than 2 farms, unless of course I have to, but I plan it out, and always I'll have to go from the younger birds to the older birds. And I just don't work with antibiotic-free birds. I also work with breeders. I work with broilers. I work with specialty birds. So I'm all over the map. So my major job is go where I'm needed. So I'm always on the field. And also at times I provide also technical service to other hatcheries. We work in collaboration with hatcheries. So at times a hatchery that produces the chicks might have issues. And because I have been in the industry for a long time, I'll get a phone call from the hatchery staff that, oh, Hackman, we are having this issue. Can you go there and help? So as I said, collaboration, we work in collaboration with them, but mostly I work as a support staff. So where I'm needed, I go. So either breeders, broilers, or raised without antibiotics. But I'm almost on the field making sure that problems get solved. And it's not that I know everything. I work in concert with the farmer and then with the sales staff. So my job is on the field where I'm needed. I go in to do as much as I can. And also, as Danny said, at times I go on the field, I have to look at the feed to see if there's anything that can be improved. If there's any issues with it, I will then translate, convey that information to Danny or to the other staff. So on the field, making sure that birds are doing well, at the same time, making sure that the product that we are putting out, it's good quality, or whether there's any issues, then I'll have to make sure that that issue is reported so that we can safely resolve it.
I'm just thinking if we should address some questions. It's like they're piling up right now in the Q&A box.
Sure.
We take a few minutes to answer some of the questions. So the first one says, are there opportunities to help students or graduates get internships or jobs in Floradale Feed Mill? Do you have a season when students should be on the lookout for opportunities that you may have open?
Absolutely. There are always opportunities for interns. In the summertime, the start of summer is a great time to approach feed mills, because the summer times are so busy on the ruminant side. They've got a lot of forage coming off, grass and things like that coming off the field. So there's a lot more running around. So definitely, if you're interested in ruminants, the summertime is a great time to approach for internships. On the monogastric side or quality side, I would say all through the year. If you're started out in the start of summer, where staff is going to be less and you're going to have vacations to cover, that's great as well. But also in the fall, because then, for us, our summer intern will be done at the end of September. So depending on if there are any projects, there's always new projects coming up because we're always looking at, how can we improve, or is there anything that we need to put risk management practices in place to prevent any issues? So a fall would be a good time as well.
I think Danny has said it all.
Okay. Yeah. The next question goes to you, Hackman.
Yeah.
Thanks for your response. Would you say your background as a veterinarian contributed significantly to your career success? If yes, can you advise our audience on career choices in this area of agriculture?
Okay, my area of specialty is not veterinarian. I did agricultural business management. So that is why I said you have to be able to adapt, right? I did agriculture business management, but because agriculture is so dynamic, you learn a lot. And most of the knowledge I have acquired is through practical learning, right? So once you have the zeal to do that, you'll be able to pick up a lot. Attending seminars, collaborating with industry partners. So my area of expertise actually was, I did agriculture business management, but here am I in Ontario, like I'm one of the top RWA, how should I say it? Gurus, if I can use that word.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
but that is what it is. Like you have to be able, and you know what, once you have a university education, right, you have the foundation. You can do anything with that degree that you get, right? So don't limit yourself to just one area. You have the foundation. You have the ability to learn, innovate. So you can branch to any aspect of agriculture as long as you are determined to do that. So that is my advice, that don't limit yourself to just one area, because let's say you take poultry. There are so many different areas, apart from nutrition, apart from like dealing with diseases, so there are so many different areas. So make sure that you don't limit yourself to just one area. Try to cross-function, learn as much as you can. And at times, what you learn at school, it will help you, but you learn a lot also just interacting with clients and with farmers.
I think that is a very great lesson, and it's applicable to every field of life.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hackman, for sharing that. And I can see you studied agricultural business management, and right now you are doing a crop C on disease challenge farms and all of that, which is very great and very useful in the time we live. Yeah.
Yes.
So I will go to the next question. What would you advise? Is it critical to have a master's to succeed in feed manufacturing or technical support roles, or is it better to go for jobs immediately after the first degree?
I personally don't think it's if your goal is to be in feed manufacturing, I don't think you need to have a master's. More and more nutritionists, we do have masters, but I would say if your goal is not to be a nutritionist or be in academia, I would not necessarily say that you need to have a master's. It's definitely, like Hackman mentioned, it's the experience and the cross training and getting the knowledge to show that even if you did your education in business, but you have the skills to be able to learn how to be in a poultry barn and do necropsies like Hackman does. What do you think, Hackman?
Oh yes, that's very, very true. If you limit yourself, you are just you don't know what you are just leaving on the table. Learn as much as possible, and also have the zeal to learn. That is very, very, very important, because if you don't show the zeal to learn, people are not going to help you out. But if they see that you really want to learn, then people are going to help you. And I have worked with, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Hackman.
I've worked with a lot of students just from university. Some of them come in, they want to earn the salary. Some come in, they really want to rise. And those are the people that very soon you find out that people will be referring to them. And at times it's word of mouth. Like you go on a farm, you work with a farmer, you do the best you can. You haven't just helped the farmer. You are going to be referred to by the farmer. They are going to talk about you. You go to a place, oh, I've heard so much about you. How did you hear that? It's word of mouth. So how you work with the farmer, how you work with your client, you are helping him, but you don't know that they are going to help you in return because farmers talk a lot. And if you are doing a good job, word will be out and then people will seek you out. So that is one of the things that if you are working, make sure that you work to the best of your ability because it's going to help you in the long run.
Yes, and I was just going to add, if you are deciding that you want to find a career right after you finish your college or undergrad, speak to your employers about continuing education because I have heard many stories of employees or employers who are willing to, allow their employees the time and resources to, whether it's go do their masters or get additional certificates that will enhance their resume.
Sounds great. Thank you, Danille. The next question. With the growing emphasis on sustainability, animal welfare, and climate-smart agriculture, how should upcoming students prepare to meet this in animal and feed industry? And what should students start doing now to stay ahead?
That's a great question.
Yes.
Sustainability has become a really, really big topic. When you go to a lot of the conferences nowadays, the animal nutrition conferences and so on, you do see it being brought up a lot more. So I would say, animal welfare, that has always been a big topic, but always room for improvement, of course. So, but the sustainability is sort of a little newer to the industry. So again, it's the education, right? Do everything you can to gain all the knowledge of, feed mills nowadays. We don't necessarily know how to, play in the sustainability game. So, you gain that knowledge and you have that on your resume. So when you go into meet these potential employers, you can show that you understand that sustainability is important for agriculture and you have the knowledge to help the company get to where they need to be to meet their sustainability goals.
Yes, and also a lot of companies have policies relating to that. So it's good for you to know what the policies are for the different companies. I know for a fact that Cargill has it. I know that Maple Leaf, it's a strong advocate for sustainability. So they have policies pertaining to that. So those are the things that you can look at. What they have, find out what their policies are, find out how you can adapt using it. But that is the most important. Find out what the company is trying to achieve, because that is how, if you are going to work with that company, you are going to have to follow whatever policies that they have set in place. So find out what the policy you have for that particular company. So that's what I would say. Find out what their policies are pertaining to sustainability, and then from there you can work on that.
Thank you, Hackman. I think the next question also goes to you. What are the key challenges you faced in designing a RWA program for poultry, and how did you overcome them?
So the major challenge is because we don't use any antibiotics, you have to make sure that animal welfare is looked after, make sure that you have interventions that will work. So I do a lot of trials. Like there are a lot of companies who come with new products, but everybody's claiming that it does that, and you have to find out whether what they are claiming is true or not. So if I'm approached by a company which has a product that is antibiotic-free, I will have to design a trial program for it, try it and make sure that it works, because other than that, you are just throwing money away. So first of all, find out what the claims are. And if you find out that it might work, then work with them and design a trial program. Normally, I'll tell them, look, we are going to design a trial program. We are not going to pay for the product until we know that it works. So then we do that in collaboration with them. We design the program and then run it. If it's successful, we will incorporate it into our program. So that is one of the ways that I have managed to be ahead of, because at times you use a product, right? Antibiotic-free product. It works for a while and then it doesn't work again. So you have to find out, okay, why is that the case? So you are always one step ahead, because other than that, animal welfare becomes very, very important. With RWA, because you don't use antibiotics, they have number of, let's say, percentage of mortality that it's acceptable. You can do whatever, but you can't do it at the expense of animal welfare. So once you try with a product, you're always coming up with new products or trying new products, finding what will work, what doesn't work, and incorporating management practices. Like, I'll give you an example with raised without antibiotic poultry. One of the most important things is to reduce the incidence of coccidiosis. And coccidiosis is always there. Like, whatever you do, you have coccidiosis. It's how you manage the coccidiosis, which is important. And we know that anytime that you have coccidiosis, necrotic enteritis will follow. So it's like a twin brother. So you have to come up with ways and means to reduce the incidence. And how do you do it? You make sure that you don't push the animal. You reduce light intensity, because light intensity brings activity, and more activity brings a lot of eating. So you don't starve the birds, but you have to make sure that they only eat what they can handle, because overeating will result in nutrition being left over for the necrotic bug to use. So these are ways and means that you have to find out, okay, what intensity do I need for the bird to just eat what he needs? And so these are some of the things that you have to look at it, and you have to try it. At times you fail, but once you fail, you know why you failed, so that you can adjust your program to suit it.
Thank you very much, Hackman. That sounds very interesting. And yeah, you mean that even if the products came with research data, and the research data, shows, what the additive or the product can do, you still go ahead to do your own trial. And how do you go about your own trial in your facility? Is it set up for trial, things, or how do you go about that?
Okay, so in the real world, right, doing a trial is not as you are doing it in a university setting, but you might have a farm with two barns side by side, right? So if you have a product that you are going to try, you can use one barn as a control and the other one as what you are researching for. But it won't be as strictly as you are doing a research in a university setting. But because you are in the real world and the barns are side by side, so you have the control and then you have the trial. So it's not as stringent, but you get results, because what the farmer is looking for, first of all, is productivity, whether there's a reduction in mortality, whether disease pressure was low. So those are the practical ways that we are going to assess. So it comes down to two things: productivity. Was mortality reduced? So that will prove whether the product you are using is efficacious or not. So that's how we go about it in the real world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very important. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I have more questions here. Let me just go through them. Can you share more about how sales rep for animal feeds market the products? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like Hackman mentioned, we work with the producers a lot, but the sales guys are, these producers are usually producers that are already our customers. One of the biggest challenges is getting a customer to switch, because there's a lot of loyalty, because, when it comes to feeding with a feed mill, not only are we providing you with the nutrition, but we're providing you with the support. And those sales guys are, in those barns. Sometimes it's the first call the customer is making in the morning. So it's really important to get that connection with those customers and show them how you can help them succeed in their business. And then of course we as a feed mill have to show that we have the results to prove it. So collecting a lot of data from historical flock information, and being able to show the customers how the different types of products that we offer help the customers to be successful.
Yes, and relationships, very important.
Yeah.
Because like you can't just go to a farmer and then tell the farmer to switch. The farmer might have worked with you in the past, so he trusts you. So, but that goes just a long way, not a long way, like it will just get you into the door. You have to prove the product that you are marketing. So we have metrics that we use to indicate how best we are doing. So let's say I approach a farmer, I talk to the farmer, and then the farmer wants to try our product, right? Once that happens, then I have to prove to the farmer that our product is superior. And so those are the, and one added bonus is that providing technical service goes a long way. You can have the best feed in the world, but if you don't have the management or technical ability, you are not going to get what the feed is meant to be. So our ability to provide technical service is one of the main reasons that we can attract customers. So if you go into the feed industry, everybody is trying to recruit best talent just for technical service, because technical service and performance go hand in hand. So those are the areas that we do. Relationship, you get it in there, provide technical service, and also the feed mill produce top quality feed. And I'm on the field. If I find out there's something that needs to be changed, immediately I will contact my nutritionist so it's a collaboration. We go in, we find something, and then we just let those in the mills know, and then they tweak things. So it's a combination of things.
Okay, thank you. So Samuel has asked 2 questions. I'm going to ask both together, and then we can continue. I don't know how much further we can go in your conversational thing today, but let me ask these 2 questions. Can you share how you maintain bird health in a RWA program, and how do you deal with diseases like necrotic enteritis? Then the second one says, what roles does gut health play in monogastric animals, and how do you support it through nutrition? So I think those 2 questions are similar, and we can deal with them together.
Very, very important. Maybe I can start out on the nutrition side, because that's how it starts, and then Hackman can talk on the other side. Lots of tools in the toolboxes with the different ingredients that we're putting in the formulas. There's like Hackman mentioned, a lot of additives that say they support gut health. Yeast additives and essential oil products. Maintaining gut health is important in animals, including humans as well. So as you can imagine, if you're not only overfeeding the animals, but you're providing them a lot of ingredients that they can't digest, then you're feeding not just the good bacteria, you're feeding the bad bacteria as well. And that definitely is not going to help you with your gut health, and you're setting them up to fail as a flock. So it's the ingredients, using the technology that's available nowadays, like enzymes. Those help us a lot in being able to minimize that, undigested product that's then the animal can't use. Little things, we keep, it's all a balancing act in maintaining, the maintenance of the animals and the performance as well. Things like keeping the sodium level in those rations low, so that, in the barns, those animals aren't affected. You don't have wet litter, which can cause a lot of issues. So we do a lot on the nutrition side to try to maintain gut health. But again, it's a balancing act with all of the things that we have available. We just have to figure out the right tools to use. And we do rely on trials, but we prefer the field trials, because when you have a trial in a lab, especially if they're not challenged. When you're doing a trial on a healthy bird, it's going to be hard to tell how that product is actually going to work in the field.
Yes, and I always say that good gut health starts with water. Very important. So in my area of work, I make sure that we start with good potable water, devoid of any bacteria or viruses. So first of all, before birds are placed, we make sure that we do water testing to make sure that the water coming in is of good quality. And then you are going to use the tools, management tools, to make sure that you improve gut health. As Danny has said, all at the nutritional level, everything is done, but it comes down to what happens on the field. So let me give you one example, like with an RWA bed. Once you place the bed, we have, let's say, day 7, you might want 4 times body weight, because once you have 4 times body weight, you know that all the internal organs are primed to go. So if you are unable to get that 4 times body weight, it means that the gut might be compromised, because if the gut, you have feed, water, and everything, if the bird is not achieving that level of growth, something is wrong. So there are things that you look at. As I said, you start with water, you make sure that some targets are met, weak targets are met. And also there are times that you might put some additives in the feed, in the water, just to make sure that gut health is improved. And with disease pressure on the farm, like necrotic and coccidiosis always present, gut health is very, very, very important, because without good gut health, the multiplication of bacteria becomes exponential. So management, making sure that certain targets are met. Light becomes very, very important, because overexposure to light means a lot of eating. And what happens is that you have undigested feed in the lower gut, and that will create problems for you, especially for necrotic. So management goes hand in hand with all the things that Danny and the other workers do at the mill. So as I said, make sure that targets are met, make sure that intensity is looked at, make sure that additives that might help with gut health is provided. But overall, management is important. Having done all that, if your management practices is bad, you are going to have issues. We have, like, if there's a lot of chickens in a very confined area, disease pressure is there. So you have to make sure that good airflow, litter is not wet, anything that promotes bacterial growth, you try to limit it so that you don't end up with bad gut. Because with broilers especially, you don't have good gut health, weight gain is compromised, and you won't make any profit at the end of the flock. And they can, farmers always look at that. The bottom line is, how much are they going to make at the end of the flock? So it's our duty to make sure that we provide the environment for the gut to be in good shape. In RWA like this, we use a lot of acids, right? Because acid does about 3 things. First of all, it reduces bacterial growth. It promotes good bacterial growth. It also, if you are disinfecting your water, you use acid, it's going to make the disinfectant more efficacious, especially with chlorine. So these are some of the factors that you do to improve gut health.
Thank you very much. I totally agree. Yeah, managing gut health is all-encompassing management, nutrition, water, environment, and everything. Yeah. So I think we are running out of time. I know you still have a lot to discuss with us, but because of time, I will let you give some final words to our audience. As many of them that are passionate about, being getting opportunities in the industry, and not only getting opportunities, doing well, in what they do. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, so, thanks again for having us speak, but everybody that's been listening, just keep on with your studies, keep on with the networking, getting in contact with people in the industry, go on those company websites and reach out, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because there's a lot of different types of jobs in agriculture, and it's not always very obvious where they are, and the different types of things that you could be doing. So get as many skills as you can, and make it clear to your employers and the people that you're interacting with, that you have the skills, and you have the drive to get to gain the skills that you need to be successful in whatever job you choose to be in.
And collaboration networking to me is very important. And there's one thing that I would like to say. I know both of those of us with accent, at times we are a bit hesitant when we are talking. Don't let an accent be a hindrance. Absolutely, it's very, very important. Be confident. You are talking to a farmer, make sure that he or she understands what you are saying. Because there have been instances that you have somebody on the farm, the person is very knowledgeable, and once he leaves, the farmer will say, well, I didn't understand what he said. So make sure that if you have an accent, it's very, very important to me. Talk clearly, make sure that the farmer or whoever you are talking to understands what you are saying. So that is very, 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 very important. So that is one of the things that I will, for both of those of us with accent, make sure that you speak very clearly and make sure that your point gets across. Let the person who you are talking to understand exactly what you are saying. So.
Thank you so much. We are really grateful for you coming here to share your thoughts today, Danille and Hackman. Thank you very much for the practical advice you have shared with us today. It's really, really important for us, for our audience, and we thank you. To everyone who has joined, thank you for being part of today's session. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days, so feel free to visit that. You can get the channel from our website, IYCA.ca, and make sure to follow us on social media as well. Check out upcoming webinars. If you have further questions that our speakers do not have time to answer today, please feel free to email them to us at admin@iyca.ca, and we'll do our best to pass the questions to them and get answers for you. So with that, I will say enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we look forward to seeing you at our next month's session. Thanks again, Danille and Hackman.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.